To start, I wanted because you write a lot about your experiences living in Spain on LinkedIn. Um, a lot better than I do about my living in France. So kudos to you. Do you get any of the trolls that sometimes occur on even LinkedIn where they're like, "Oh, it must be nice to be a rich American who got out," and now you're like bragging about your lifestyle. Do you have any of those comments yet or those DMs? Because I got a lot recently.
I do, but I have more of the trolls when I talk about my problems with the language. Like, I speak Spanish, I can do most things in Spanish, although you find out that doing, bureaucratic stuff in another language, as you know, in France is very challenging. But I get the trolls that say, improve your Spanish. Why are you trying to bring your Americanisms to Spain? And I think I respond pretty kindly, but I'm like, I have no expectation here to ever speak English. And I write about that a lot. So I think most of the trolls that I come across, they've never actually spent
Red.
time reading any of my
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it's my post from a couple days ago. I had people saying must be nice to be like wealthy and to have gotten out. Uh, we can't do that. We don't have, most Americans don't have money. Like all the stereotypes, and it's like if you really want to get out of the US, you don't have to move to France. You don't have to move to Spain. You can go live in Vietnam for cheaper than anywhere in the US. Um, it's just choice, and you don't have to have a huge savings. You can do that for very cheaply and change your life overnight if you choose to do that instead of complaining online. So I just have no sympathy for these people who post that stuff.
Um, I don't have any sympathy for them, but people will say, "Oh, James, you're so lucky. How did you do it? Did you sell a business?" No, I didn't. I didn't do any of that. I massively downsized my life. We live in an apartment. Um, I wouldn't say it's glamorous. I mean, you live in a tiny town in France, right? Like, we're not talking about Nice, right?
Mm-mm. No.
Um, and I like my life, but I got rid of both our cars, tons of our expenses, got rid of the mortgage and the you know home payment, and got rid of the 1,500 we were spending on U.S. healthcare every month. You can do it, and I still work. I have clients here. I've been building my business since day one here. My wife works. So, but there's so many sacrifices. So it's like people say, "Oh, you're so lucky," and they say, "I want to move to Spain or I want to move to France, but I want to have two cars and I want to have a 3,000 square foot house and I want to drive to Costco on Sunday," and that's not happening.
And I want a dryer and I want ice and I want all of the things that most French don't even consider having in their life.
I love that you said that. I want a dryer, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I I actually have a dryer. I don't really use it except for in the winter. And even when I do use it, it's not that's the thing is like you move here and you think, "Oh, cool. If you want a dryer, you can go buy a dryer and it will be like in the US." It's not. It's not. The dryer takes 3 hours to
mhm.
dry a small load. Everything is a little bit different, and if you don't have patience or if you're not willing to grow to a different person and lifestyle, you're not gonna enjoy this. And sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Like, why did I put myself in a permanent state of discomfort in a way? Because you're living your life, raising a kid, and then you have all of these additional things you now have to learn and navigate. And so I don't think people realize, unless you're a retiree and you have income, you don't have to work anymore, and you can just go live in a tiny apartment and go hang out on the beach every day. But if you're still like in the grind of things, it's adding so much stress to your life. And I don't think people realize that it's not all fun and games.
No, it's not. Earlier this week, I had a guy reach out to me on LinkedIn. He said, "Hey, I'd love to pick your brain. Can we jump on a call?" Sure, no problem. And just ask me about what it's actually like. Like, Is it taking trips every weekend? Do we pop over to Paris? No, there's no popping over to Paris. You know, like I haven't been to Barcelona. It's 8.5 hours away. It's 2 flights. Like, what are you talking about? And I said, the big thing is it's living with discomfort and understanding that your life is not going to be comfortable like it was back in the US. And I don't mean comfortable like, you know, you were financially comfortable. I mean comfortable like waking up and being like, hey, a chair broke in my kitchen. How do I go find a screw and where do I buy a screwdriver? Is this going to be the same store?
Hmm.
You know, and it's like you said about the dryer. Like you can have a dryer, like congratulations, you can dry, you know, 3 t-shirts and a towel in 3.5 hours.
Man, that's the worst when you're doing home repairs and you know what you would buy in the US, and you could go to a Home Depot and there's every type of selection. But
Hmm.
here it's like you got to figure out what it's called in French, you know, whatever the language is, and then you got to go, and then you get there, and it just the mental exhaustion to find the tool and the thing to go to like attach it or whatever it is. It ends up being like a 4-hour thing, and then by the time you get back, you're exhausted. You don't even want to fix the thing now. It's yeah, it's a very it can be very frustrating, and it takes so much longer to get to-do lists done because of you feel like an infant at times, like a small child going to the store and like this this, and then
Yeah.
the people are looking at you like, what is wrong with this American? Like, what is he wanting? Like, we don't have that doesn't exist here. um Random story. So I moved here, we flew to France August of 2024, and I bought the house I'm in is way too big, multiple floors. When I went back to the US to care for my mom, the hot water tank exploded on the top floor and flooded 3 floors and completely ruined the kitchen. So I spent basically a year fixing the house back up to the state it was with a better kitchen. And the exterior of this house I bought because it was a cheaper house is needing to be, I don't know what it's, I think the guy said it's called like pointing or something, where you basically carve out all of the old joint compound and then put new with like with the bricks. And it's a very intensive process. And this is a giant house. And I've been trying since I moved here to find a guy who would give me a rough estimate and might do it. And it just today I found someone, and the way I found them was I had my window open, and I'm in like the old town where there's no one around here. It's the old town, old church, but there's literally no one on the street most of the time. But I heard English, American English, and I was like, that's weird. Oh wait, it's summertime. It must be tourists. And I look out the window and I just start yelling at them from the fourth floor, and they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, where are you from? And they're like, Oregon. And but she's French. And I'm like, okay. I was like, what are you doing here? And they're like, we live here. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then they start, I forget how it went to like, oh, I said, I live in this house. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, it's falling apart. And they're like, well, my brother is here to give a quote to do a painting job. And I was like, hold on. And I started run downstairs and start talking to this lady. And then her brother, who's like a contractor, shows up, and she's translating for me because I can't obviously speak that level of French. And finally, that guy gave me a quote. And I've tried the guy in town like once every 3 months. I get him to come out, and then he never sends a quote. And he always says he's going to do it. He never sends it. It's comical at this point. But this guy did it like basically just seeing at it. But I'm terrified at how much it's really going to cost because that was a rough estimate. But that's the type of things that people don't realize that you have to go through, and you have to stay motivated to get just a quote for someone to maybe come do repairs. And then the timetable, he said next year in the fall he might have availability, and I'm like, of course.
Wow. It's
that's that's European living.
that is European living. And so maybe like 3 weeks ago, right? Like we have some lights out and some like a little bit of our ceiling in our apartment is coming undone a little bit. So we called the maintenance guy and he it takes him 3 weeks to get over here. And then he got over here and he was like, oh yeah, we can fix all this. No problem. And he's like, I just need to ask the owner of the apartment to approve, this cost. And he's like, that was maybe on like a Thursday or a Wednesday. And he goes, I'll talk to you early next week. That was 3 weeks ago. But it's just the way things are. And that's what you talk about when it's like discomfort. Uh, like imagine, we one light is out in the kitchen, so it gets dark, right? If the sun goes down and it's not enough light to really cook in there. And it's like, how long would you put up with that in the US, right?
Day.
Yeah, right? Because you're just going to jump in your car and go to Home Depot, even though like these lights are like recessed lighting, and I'm not an electrician. I don't want to get into doing that, but like still, you would be able to get someone out to your house.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's it definitely changes what your standard of living, or like what you find acceptable. Like when I first bought this place, I'm like, I'm gonna change all these things and do this and that. And then you start doing like paint a room and you're like, oh, that took a week. And then you paint another room and you're like, there's endless rooms in this house. And I don't even go in two of them because I have two. I just bought too big of a house, which was really dumb on my part because I thought I was going to have an Airbnb, but I just think that's a crazy idea now. But it's like I spent all this time painting rooms that literally no one even goes into now. And there's things, just little flaws throughout the house that in an American house I would never accept. I'd be like, we have to get this fixed right away. But now I'm just kind of, I guess I'm like dilute, like I just put up blinders like a horse, and I just don't really, I don't completely acknowledge that problem's there, and I've just moved on because I got tired of trying to get someone out here to fix it, and I can't figure it out. So yeah, it definitely changes you in that way. I guess if you moved here with a lot of money, you could always have like a handyman on call, and
sure.
they would know like they're willing to pay more, but I don't have that kind of life.
I think me either. I think the biggest thing is that Europeans, most of them, and I paint with a broad brush, and I've been also hit on LinkedIn, like you're stereotyping all Spaniards that they, you know, drink in the middle of the day, or they takes an hour and a half to have a cup of coffee, but some of them do. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's that a lot of Europeans, they look at their home as a place to keep stuff and a place to sleep and to, store your clothes. They live outside of the home. And because of that, there's not that much pressure to get stuff fixed because, if there's, like you said, there's little things in the house where you're like, oh, I need to get that fixed. Well, it doesn't bother you when you're sleeping, so, and I think that mentality happens a lot. So last week we got invited to I'll call it a Spanish barbecue, but there was no like traditional US barbecuing going on. They serve paella, which is, but everyone told me here in Andalusia, it's not paella, it's just rice because only paella is from Valencia, right?
Didn't
Like,
know that.
yeah, well, it's like only like ask a French person about champagne, right? Only champagne comes from the Champagne region. Okay. And this is what I mean when people are like, I think you have to be cut from a certain cloth to do it because we live here. We don't have a car. He said, oh, I'm just a few minutes out of town. So we looked it up, few minutes out of town. We took a 45-minute plus bus ride, got off the bus. Remember, we were hauling like a cooler. I had bottles of wine, I had beer, we had our child in tow, we had stuff to like bring for the barbecue. It's like 1.2 mile walk uphill in summer. Oh
No shade.
no! So we get there, and I'm sweating bullets, and he's like, "Oh, it's a hot day, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And it's like, if you preface that, right? Imagine like we're from Oregon. If someone said to me, hey, it's a 45-minute drive and then you got to walk, over a mile uphill in the summer to come to my house for a barbecue, would you go?
n no, I mean, people would you that would end a friendship if you if you described it that way and they showed up and they realize they have to walk a mile,
Yeah.
like Americans, I mean, we're stereotyping here, but if you can't pull your car up to someone's driveway and take 2 steps to be in their house, they're not going.
Yeah.
Like
Like, it
it's
seems silly, right? That remember going to like Costco or Target or whatever grocery store, and you drive around for 5 minutes to literally save 50 feet of walking.
yeah.
And yeah, I get it. Not everyone does that. I'm sure, when millions of people watch this podcast, someone someone will pan us and say you're painting Americans as lazy, but it's not my intention. But I can speak for myself. I drove around many a Costco lot looking for the best spot.
But yeah, oh yeah, and depending on the Costco, I mean, if you don't go for the good spot, I mean, it's a walk. I mean, it's silly now because I walk a lot more, but
Yeah.
it's like you can be in the back of the parking lot. Like Costco's are no joke, depending on what time of the year or what event's going on in the country. Like if it was like 4th of July, like right before 4th of July, that place is packed with everyone stocking up, and you're looking for that sweet front row spot.
And like I can't speak for everyone. I can't speak for every place in Europe, but southern Spain and Malaga, where we are, if you are not prepared to walk minimum 4 or 5 miles a day to do stuff, you're not going anywhere.
Mhm.
Like my wife and I just got back from taking a quick walk down the beach, and we knocked out 4 miles just down the promenade and back. And that's a really short walk. We didn't even get there's beach bars everywhere here, right? Because it's right on the Med. So there's these little beach bars called Chiringuitos, and it's like they have seafood and they have like outdoor grills where they put like sardines on skewers, and it's a really like cool southern Spain thing to do. But like our favorite Chiringuito that we walk to is more than 2 miles away.
Oh wow.
So it's like, and that just seems out of this world to say that, after being here 10 months. If you would have told me a year ago that I was going to go on a 4 mile odyssey to go
To have a
beers
little
and fried
drink.
fish.
I have the opposite problem. My town is so small that there is nowhere to go. There's the store that is sometimes open, a little tiny grocery store that's overpriced because they've got a monopoly in this town, and they know people are lazy and not going to go to the next town. And then there's a bakery, also rarely open, and there's a restaurant I don't think I've ever seen open. And then there's like a little cafe that I think they take 3 months off a year. It seems like it's open maybe like 2 hours a day when they're actually physically here in France, and then they're on holiday most of the time. I don't know how most of these that is one thing my American brain can't like comprehend is how they make enough money to even pay a wage when they're never open. It just makes no sense to me, um, especially with the increase in like food costs and things like that. In America, restaurants have to be pumping out order after order just to keep the doors open. And here it's like they like don't really want you to come eat, or everywhere you have to have a reservation. That's the big thing here is like, you want to have lunch right now? Today? No, 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 no. You can make a reservation for like a week from now and come back, but we don't have lunch for you now. And it's like, what are all these people doing? They're eating lunch. Yeah, but they had reservations. It's like that's one thing I can't ever get over is that you have to have a reservation. You have to plan your life like so far in advance if you want to eat out in France. If you want to eat at a good place, I mean, there's always McDonald's
Yeah.
somewhere if you want.
I think the unwritten rule here in Spain is that it's culturally frowned upon to walk to a restaurant with more than 4 people and look for a table.
Really?
Yeah. Now this might not hold true like in the really tourist areas, but if we're going anywhere and we're with Spanish people and they're like, and there's more than 4 of us, they're like, well, I will call ahead and make a reservation.
I is it because they just only have so much like they buy daily fresh food and they're only thinking we're gonna serve, 20 plates of that today. Is that the reason? Because I can't figure it out.
Number one reason I think is because the largest tables they have are four tops.
That too.
You know, like there are no eight person round tables. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so that might be reason one. I also think that uh, if it's more than four, people are like, okay, they're going to be here for a while because it's like a multiple families meeting, and so they want to encourage that. And I just think you just grow up having to have reservations.
Mhm.
Like we got asked to leave a table for the first time ever in 10 months over the weekend.
'Cause you stay too long?
Well, we were at a Chiringuito. We got invited by different friends at a different town. We'd never been there, and our reservation was for 1:30, and there was, I think, 14 or 15 of us with the kids. So we got there at 1:30, and the restaurant closes between like 5 and 8. Okay, that's like their time to redo whatever. They said nothing to us, and at like almost 7 o'clock, they were like, "Hey, listen, we have to turn the tables. We have to get ready for dinner. You can stay here. We'll keep your tab open, but do you mind if we set you up a table outside of the restaurant?" And we were like, "Yeah, no problem." And
Yeah.
that's another stereotype that uh, I have been, gotten the troll attack on LinkedIn for saying that the Spanish have long lunches, but it is absolutely a thing here because there was out of the 14 or 15, uh, two of the couples were Spanish, and we didn't walk out of that place until like 9:30. So we were there one ish until 9:30
Oh,
for
wow.
for lunch. And because you're having conversation, you order food, you have lunch, you're having drinks, and this time we were having some more drinks, and then someone says, "Hey, do you want a little snack?" And you have a little bit more food here and there, and it just turns into kind of a whole day event. And never once in the US did I ever go out to lunch or brunch with someone and it surpassed like 3 or 4 hours.
No, I can't think of a time either. I feel like there's a unspoken rule in the US, even for, like, family gatherings, like, after 2, 3 hours, it's like, you gotta go, man. Like, and unless you're drinking a lot and then it leads into, like, late night and you're younger, but, like, if it's, like, a family event or something, it's like, "We've had enough of you." Like, "We fed you, you had drinks, we heard your stories, now go on your way," like but in France too, the family gatherings, especially around holidays, they're long.
Uh-huh.
It's a it's a oh, they're getting here at 4 for sort of like, a lunch snack thing, and then oh, wait, they're like, I never asked enough questions, and then, "Oh, we're eating dinner," and then it's 11 o'clock at night, and no one's moved. No one's even made the attempt to, like, "Hey, we should start packing up stuff to go." And I'm like, "This is crazy. This is like this is way too much conversation and, family time for me in one dose." But no, they're not even phased. Like, no one I feel like there's always that person in, American gatherings that it's like, "Oh, we gotta start going now."
Yep.
Like, "I gotta get back to my Netflix."
Yep. We got invited at Christmas time. We got invited to Christmas dinner by our neighbors. And he said, "Okay, come over at 10." And I was like, I remember coming back home and my wife was like, I said I was talking to Jesus, our neighbor, and he was like, she goes, "Well, what happened?" And I said, "Well, he invited us to Christmas dinner, but he said 10 o'clock." And I'm 100% positive he said 10 o'clock. And lo and behold, we rolled over there with our, you know, young daughter at 10 o'clock and we were there until like 1:30. And it's just like, it's just very, very Spanish to do everything later. And they don't look at it like it's late at night. Once again, huge cultural difference. And it's, like you could call that discomfort or you can call it whatever it is, but I don't love being out late. But here, It's the expectation.
Yeah. My son's school, the thing that drives me crazy is that, like, they go to school from 9 to 5, and then they have, like, I don't know what it's called in French, but it's basically like the end of year, like, performance.
Hmm.
And that's at like that's today at 6 or 6:30, and that thing can go for like 2 hours, and there's like sort of food. And but I'm like, these little kids, these are like 5, like, uh, 3 to 6-year olds, like his group. And I'm like, these kids have been in school all day long, and then they got to hang out even longer out in the sun and put on this performance. And it doesn't seem like anyone thinks about, like, are they physically able to, like, keep up? Because 'Cause I'm tired at the end of the day, and then you're asking, like, these young kids to, like, I don't know. It just I f maybe because I haven't raised a kid in the US, maybe it's similar, but I feel like in the US, it's, like, done earlier in the day, and it gets done, and I don't
I
know, maybe.
It's interesting you say that because we had the end of the year event, even though school's still not done for the year. We had
Right.
the end of the year event last week. So the school day, and this is for young kids, like year one, which is like American equivalent of kindergarten on up. Their day starts around 8:15 and doesn't end until a few minutes after 4. That's a much longer day than what you deal with in the US, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's and that's way different, but it was the same deal. We went and the kids were in the sun for 2 hours putting on this performance for us. We're like, "This is great, I guess."
Yeah. The I don't know if it's the same, but you can drop your kid, like, the before school, like, care at, I think, 7, which we've never done because we haven't needed to do that, at 7, which some kids get dropped off at 7, and you can pick them up, I think, at the latest 7 o'clock at night. And there's kids that do that every day as well. So they're basically not home for 4 days out of the week because well, if it was my child, he'd be in bed soon after he got home. But I mean, these French kids go to bed way later as well. But yeah, that it just blows my mind that these little tiny kids, like, I understand like a 10-year-old could do it, but like a 4-year-old that spends that much time away, it blows my mind. I don't think I'll ever comprehend that one. Um, Before we get too long in this conversation, I want to go back. What was, and maybe I asked you this in the previous podcast we had, but what was like the catalyst to finally, like, we're doing this and going to Spain? Like, what was the breaking point?
I don't think there was a breaking point. It was my wife and I, when we first met, we both had been traveling. My wife went to school in Australia. So she did international. And then we lived in the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. And I lived in Mexico and Martinique. And um, it was just such a great teacher when we were younger to say, hey, we lived here. It opened our eyes to other cultures and different ways of doing things. We always talked about doing that. And then as we were in the US, we lived in Florida for a long time and then moved out to Oregon. We were like, hey, it'll be great to, get a change of scenery. But being in the US for 95% of the places that you live, it's kind of the same thing, right? You got to jump in your car to do everything. Um, your weekends are your own, but they're not because you're like, hey, I have to go here, go back to the famous Costco. You're just doing stuff, you're maintaining your house. And so it was a combination of things where we said, hey, there has to be more to life than just running errands and being in our cars and doing that all the time and working that traditional American 9 to 5. And um, our daughter was at the age where we were like, we know we want to do this. Right now, we are kind of in a situation where we have a little bit of road to work with, but let's do it now because once our daughter is going to be, 12, 13, 14, that's a terrible time to try to pull them out of everything they know and throw them into this, as I said earlier, super disruptive environment. So it wasn't one thing that made us make the leap. It was a, you know, it was a series of stuff in the U.S. It was car dependent. Healthcare is a mess. Um, you know, the political divide. You know, having our 6-year-old come home after having a active shooter drill at her elementary school, which is insane to even say. It was just a combination of all those things that said, "Hey, let's make the jump."
Yeah. Yeah, the normalization of active shooter drills is mind-boggling. Like, I've had many jobs in the US where that was part of the training, and I'm like, this isn't this shouldn't be part of the training. Like, these shouldn't be something very broken in the system that we're thinking that this job's gonna push someone over the edge and they're gonna come back and try to kill someone because of it. Like, it's maybe we should be addressing the mental health, like have a mental health training, then we're like worrying how to avoid being shot. I don't know. It's just I always living in the US, most of my life. I don't know why I felt this because I wasn't exposed to world travelers or even people like with very open minds, but I always felt like I really didn't completely fit in wherever I lived. And I lived in San Francisco and went to school in San Francisco, and obviously a very liberal place. But even there, I still felt like there's somewhere else I should be. And even being in France, I don't fully feel like I should be here either. So I've always feel like there's something missing in my life, or the grass is greener, of course. But the US, I feel like exactly what you're saying there is like from doing all my traveling and coming back and forth to the US, I got to the point where it's just I I have a hard time relating to a lot of people who especially haven't maybe done a lot of traveling, because they just are willing to like accept things the way they are. And yeah, the dependency on cars drives me crazy, and the dependency on large cars, like it just is pet peeve of mine. These monster trucks, raised pickups, especially from where I'm in California, it's like the status symbol, and I just have never understood.
It's I I can empathize with that. Being in Florida, like every third car it seems is a raised pickup, and they never have anything in the bed. Like,
No, it's spotless.
yeah, what are you actually hauling? You know?
And the thing now is like to make it so raised that like it's hard to get into it. Like the bigger the bet, like the more you have to like climb up and have like the steps that automatically come down. The cooler it is. It's bonkers.
I
We're
I think that it's not my way I wanted to live life to say, "Hey, I'm going to work super hard, right? So I can park my $1,000 a month car payment on a driveway in the suburbs and hang out in my backyard."
Yeah.
And I couldn't see myself doing that for our entire uh daughter's childhood.
Yeah. I can remember when we were before we were moving, we made friends with a family who had a son like a month apart from our son, so it was like perfect timing in terms if they went to school together and like stages of life, everything was aligned around our two boys, so we like had that bond instantly with these random neighbors we found. But the dad I struggled to relate with because he was very American in his way of thinking, and he would say things like, I had to go buy that pickup truck because I need to haul stuff sometimes. And I'm like, do you? Like, do you really? Like, what are you hauling all the time? Like, you go work. He worked in a vineyard, and I'm like, you have a company truck that you drive to work, and then you have a personal truck as well. Like, and I don't really see you hauling things ever. I just there's always like we'll buy this for the what if. And I've never understood that. Like, I will try to save money at all costs and like figure out a really random way to solve. Like, if I need to haul a bunch of branches, I will cut them down to tiny pieces and shove them in the garbage can instead
Or
of forcing myself to go rent a trailer or a U-Haul or buying a vehicle. But I guess I'm just cheap, maybe. I guess maybe that's my problem.
I mean, you could say you're cheap or you're resourceful, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
I never understood that mentality of collecting stuff for the sake of collecting stuff. Like even when I was young, like keeping up with the Joneses,
Mhm.
I never understood that. And as I've gotten older, I think I've gotten more steadfast in my belief that having stuff and raising your standard, like if you drive a beat up Honda in your 20s, and then in your 30s you can get a Lexus, and now in your 40s you can say, hey, I'm going to buy a Rivian. Okay. And that's awesome to buy new stuff. But after like 3 days, you're just back to, oh, what is going to be better than this? And you're in such a bad loop. Like here we have, I mean, I know all houses have a finite amount of space, but like if you're living in 1,000 square feet or less, you're going to be much more cognizant about what you're bringing into the home than you are if you're living in 4,000 square feet because you have a massive home that you bought in the middle of what used to be a farm on the outskirts of a city in the US.
Mhm. I also think, something changed from my grandparents' generation to, I don't know, like, maybe it got broken in the '80s or '90s or whatever, but when it would just became acceptable, and maybe it's just really good marketing in terms of, like, the credit card companies, but the idea that you deserve these things even if you don't have the money, and exactly that, you gotta keep up with your neighbors or your coworkers, and it becomes so normalized. And I can remember I was working a county job in Northern California, and I like every couple of months, these people who I know what they're making because I also make the same, which was not a lot of money. And Northern California is very expensive to live there. Houses are $500,000.
Sure.
Like, and all these people are living in the other county because they can't afford to live in this poorer county. And so they're commuting like an hour each way to be able to just get by, but then they're all driving brand new vehicles. And I would ask them, like, what's the payment on that brand new pickup that you just bought? And they would like $700 a month. And I'm like, we make like 3 grand a month. Like, what are you talking about? Have you done the math? Like, this is crazy. You're working for that vehicle. Like, it's I and I got to the point where I just stopped asking people things like that because it would break my brain for the day. Because people are so, financially illiterate, they don't realize they're burying themselves for probably their life because of these type of decisions. But I think it's just so ingrained in our culture that you gotta have the nice new pickup, and you gotta go take it and get it, to the car wash every week because it's gotta look pristine. And there's so many like standards that you think are normal because once again you're keeping up with this like circle of people you've surrounded yourself with, and it's just not. It's not that way at all. And like here, I can't remember the last time I saw, well, I live in a tiny little town, but I don't think I've seen like a really nice car in months. Like there's occasionally like on the highway, there'll be like guys that are obviously like big car fanatics and they're going somewhere like as a group with a bunch of like fancy like convertibles or something. But people just buy the basic car. They're just trying to get from A to B if they even need a car. And so it's just a completely different way of thinking.
Um, I think it is. Like I have some friends here that tell me they didn't own a car, like never owned a car until they were well into their late 30s, early 40s. They just had a scooter.
That's That's the other thing is scooters are really big. Like, take your scooter to the train station, then take your scooter to your work or wherever you're trying to go in town. Like, I love that. Like, where it's nice weather and you're flying down the street on a scooter. I mean, kind of dangerous and no one wears a helmet, but definitely more chill than driving and trying to find parking or paying for parking.
It's and this goes back to the discomfort I'm talking about. Like if you're in the US and you say, all right, I can make 200,000, right? You look at that and you say, I'm going to make $200,000 a year in the US. That's incredible. That's a ton of money. That's probably less than 10% of all the people in the US. But if you can achieve that, right? But then you look and you say, okay, my mortgage is 3,000. My car payment with insurance is 900, 800. Uh, Healthcare is a grand. You start adding that all up, right? And you can't save any money. You can't. And then there's lifestyle creep. And you say,
Mhm.
oh, of course we have to go do this and we have to spend this money on going to a vacation and we don't live by the beach. So one time in the summer we have to do this. And of course we need a pool because the Smiths next door, they got a pool and they also have a boat. We have to have a boat and we have to go golfing on the weekends and all of a sudden that 200,000, well, that's great. Your lifestyle is 210,000. And so
Mhm.
you say to yourself, okay, maybe I could go to Europe. Maybe I could go to a tiny town in France, or maybe I could go to southern Spain and I could live and say, you know what? We're going to live on $3,500, a month. Are you okay with that? And people are like, well, I'm sure when I get over there, I can get a car and I can figure out a way to get a boat. And it's that you have to turn that off, right?
Yep.
And I don't
Yep.
think people can.
Yeah, and it takes time to turn that off and the just like buying things to be because you have that urge. And Amazon is the worst. It makes it so easy to like, "Oh, I really need this thing," and it makes it so you can easily just click that button and have it. Even in France, you can have it the next day.
Sure.
And that when I was making good money with my photography business, I would sometimes, look at my credit card statement at the end of the month and be like, I spent $4,000 on what? What did I buy? I mean, it's, like camera equipment stuff or stuff for a business, but it's still just like it just piles up really fast. And then like you're saying, you're making decent money, but you're just spending like a crazy person. And so then you're living paycheck to paycheck and it's this cycle and the stress related to it. And I think the problem too is it's very hard to realize, and I even still struggle with this today, is that purchase isn't gonna bring you happiness. It does, like, immediately, like, it's immediate gratification, but days later, like buying the $4,000 mountain bike that I bought that I shouldn't have bought, electric mountain bike, it's amazing. I shouldn't have bought it because every day I look at it and I go, "That's like 3,000 euros I could have saved and it could be in a high interest account right now or my retirement account. And I just didn't need that fancy thing. But at the time, I convinced myself that this is going to make me happy. This is going to pull me out of that depression and my life will be different. And then it just, most of the time, just sits there and annoys you and it's in the way when you need to get something out of the garage. Uh, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of learning, living, and changing your life, living the European way.
It's funny you say that because that creep that I need to buy is real. So we have everyone in Spain knows it's called El Corte Inglés. It's like a big, I don't know, it's like a supersized Macy's. I don't know another equivalent in the US, but it has everything. And they have
Mm.
this massive like sports floor that has, everything you could imagine for sports and paddle boards and diving gear and skateboards and mountain bikes and electric bikes. And they have scooters there. And some of the scooters are legit like 35 mile an hour top speed on your scooter with like 15 hours of battery life. And I was looking at one and it was 900 euros, right? I said to my wife, like, I want one of those. And she's like, why? So you can walk less, so you can decide that you need to go to farther places to find more stuff to buy. And I'm like, that's true, right? Because like it's like having a big truck, right? Well, you have a big truck, now you got to do a project because you got to justify having the big truck. So,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and it's it it is not only when you move about the logistical struggle of moving, and that's very real, right? But it's about the maybe minimizing your Americanism,
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
whole mentality shift.
I've been wanting to buy a scooter and I have no need for it whatsoever, but I just see them all the time and they just look fun.
Yeah, they look super fun, right?
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna hate myself if I do it. It's and you're right, they're like 500 euros, and it's just I wouldn't. Everything's walkable. Then there's nothing really to go to, even if I had a scooter. Like, okay, now I can go further by the lake, or I could just walk over there. I don't need it. Um, yeah, the urge to buy things is always there. It's so hard to get rid of that. Um, there's got to be someone who's figured it out. I guess you live off grid. If you make it so you can't like easily go to stores or like get things shipped to you, then that probably really solves it.
I have a Dutch friend that used to live kind of where we live in downtown Malaga, and he was like, "Oh, I looked around after living there like 3 years and realized that I can't live close to anything because I can't turn off going to buy stuff." So, so he was like, "I looked at the end of the main bus route, and then I went out within a 30-minute walk, and I said, where can I live at the absolute end of the bus route where there's nothing around? And it has to be a legit inconvenience to go do things." And
And that
yeah, they bought
and
a
that's where he's at.
yeah, they bought a place out there, and he's like, "I love it because that not wanting to walk, 30 minutes and then take a bus and then figure out how to bring it back." He's like, "That's enough where I never go and just buy stuff because I can't carry it back to my place."
That's kind of smart. Putting that
Right?
barrier.
You know,
I've
it's
I've kind of done that by living in a town of 2,000 people where there's just nothing. There's nothing here. There's no temptation. There's no Starbucks. There's not even a cafe really that's ever open.
yeah. I
Uh,
was I was nervous because our some American friends we know here, they're moving to Costa Rica like the end of the month, and uh, he was like, "Hey, do you want some of this stuff?" And they gave us like another computer screen. And they gave us a juicer, and they gave us their Christmas tree that they had, and like we had all this stuff, and I was like, "Okay, now where do we put it?"
mhm.
And we have found spots, but it's like our apartment's 100 square meters, so I guess a little over 1,000 square feet. It fills up very, very quickly.
Yeah, and do you have to have a Christmas tree?
No.
uh,
Well,
well,
I
I
mean,
guess
actually,
if you have a woman in your life, they will disagree because
my wife 100% wants a Christmas tree. So,
yeah, don't get me started on decorations. Oh my gosh. Well, it's this time of year, so you have to change the whole house. No, you don't. You don't have to. You're choosing to.
yeah, that's a want, not a need.
Exactly.
Um,
If anyone wants, you're still doing ghostwriting, right, for LinkedIn?
yeah, 100%.
If anyone wants to reach out, just find you on LinkedIn.
Find me on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email at authoredbyjames@gmail. Um, they can do that. Uh, it's funny what not having stuff, how your creativity will like kind of just explode. I remember one year we were in Martinique, right? And like we couldn't find a Christmas tree. And so we took like red and green painter's tape on a blank wall and did a Christmas tree on the wall
Mhm.
there, and taped one, taped the design up, and we had presents and the whole deal. And it felt just as real.
The most unique Christmas I ever had was I was living in Australia, in Melbourne, and obviously it's summer there and Christmas time, and we just had a barbecue outside and then walked to the beach, and I was like, "This is how Christmas should be." And there's no like, yes, there's, like, decorations on, like, businesses and there's lights and things at nighttime, but it didn't really ever, obviously because it's summer, it doesn't seem like Christmas, but it's more of just focused on the people and celebrating together than I felt like the materialistic part of it.
Yeah.
And that was a amazing Christmas day. The parts I remember, anyways.
Um, uh, uh, that is an interesting thing, right? Because it's not that consumerism doesn't exist in Spain or France. It most certainly does. But there is more, I think, intentionality with spending time with your loved ones, with your friends, celebrating the event together rather than getting caught up in shopping for gifts, giving someone the perfect gift. People would much rather see you, and I'm
Mhm.
painting with a broad brush, but
Right.
it felt like every couple days during Christmas season, someone was like, "Hey, let's go walk in downtown and check out the lights and then grab dinner together," or let's go to the Christmas village they set up at the port and then let's grab a meal together. It wasn't let's do a gift exchange. It was more the gift is spending time with each other.
Yeah, and I feel like there's more cultural events, so you go to those things as opposed to, like you're saying, going and buying every coworker a coffee mug they don't need. Like, it's I also think really what it comes down to is that most okay, some Europeans would love to live the way some Americans live, which is like, with abundance of crap, really, when it's all said and done. Like, just like buy anything you want, have all this stuff because that's like the way life is portrayed in movies and television. And it's like, oh, they have like this beautiful setup with all of these knickknacks. But I think because the wages are just so drastically lower and people don't have access to credit cards, or being able to spend way past their budget here, that it makes them stay sort of the way like my grandparents were, where it's like you spent 2 years saving up for that dryer and washer, and that dryer and washer was going to last you for 10 years. And
Sure.
the things you do spend your money on, like there's a real thought process and planning around it, and like this is going to improve our life, as opposed to like, me personally in the US, it was like you go to Costco and you go to get groceries and then you end up with a paddle board, and it's like you just buying and you're not even going to use that paddle board more than a couple times in the summer, but it's like, oh, it's a good deal and it's a really quality one, so I'm just going to get it. I feel like that isn't here. It's more thoughtful in your purchases because they don't have a crazy amount of surplus in their monthly budgets.
I think one of the biggest differences is that Europeans can't imagine a life without vacation, without going on holiday. And so that's a non-negotiable expense that they're going to travel in July or August versus I probably know a good number of my friends in the US who are like, well, I have a pool and we're going to barbecue. Why do I need to take vacation? Well, you don't
Mm.
just take vacation to go somewhere. You take vacation to expand your mind, learn about new
Y-
things. And
y-
I think that's a huge difference.
Sounds like chaos in the background. Welcome to
Welcome to city
Spain.
living.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. The other thing, and we'll end soon, but the other thing is, when people go on holiday too, like in my town in August, the lake is just, and it's not even like that great of a lake. It's more of like a large pond, in my opinion, but it's just packed with kids and people from like English people, Spanish people, people from all over to go hang out there. And they just show up with a towel.
Yeah.
And that's like the American brain, like we bring so much stuff with us to go to the beach, an umbrella and a giant cooler and a bag with toys and all this stuff. And I mean, there is a little bit of that, but it's nothing like it is in the US. Where in the US, I wouldn't go to the beach because it's so much effort because you got to bring all the things. And so I love that where you just like you grab a towel and yeah, maybe you're not as comfortable with your like reclining rocking chair, the best of the best like camping chair, but
Mhm.
you're just like there and it's how it's sort of meant to be going to the outdoors. It's like it's supposed to be quick and easy and you just pick up and roll your towel when you're done and go home.
That was the first thing I noticed when we got here last summer is you go to the beach here and the beach is beautiful. And yes, some people bring little like umbrellas to have a tiny bit of shade, but there's no tents. There's no people staking huge areas of the beach. There's certainly no stupid political flags. There,
Yeah.
there's it's just people at the beach saying, "Hey, I'm going to lay here. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go swimming, and then I'm going to leave, and someone else can have the space." Like I don't know anyone here. Like if I said I went to the beach for 10 hours, people would be like, "What is why? What's wrong with you?"
And you didn't have like endless cold drinks with ice and your red solo cups and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, no one was playing like what's the beach version of where they play like beer pong except it's giant with just go to the beach, go swimming, enjoy, go home.
The giant inflatable toy that seats like 15 family members. uh I've spent lots of my summers in Washington at Lake Chelan, which is about 3 hours from Seattle. Beautiful lake, but like the one there's only a couple public beaches on that lake, and r- in the last I don't know decade, it's gotten so overrun in the summer, and it's laughable how much stuff people like, and they get there early because you're basically claiming your piece of land for the day.
Mhm.
But I mean, you got the tents, you got like a blow up couch, like the fake green grass, the full, not like a mini barbecue you take to the beach, a full barbecue like a Traeger, um, a table. I'll put out a table and have like buffet style like dishes out, and then like 74 chairs with like every family member, and then the best part is they'll start playing the music, and it's like, oh my god, like, you guys are missing the point here.
Yeah, and that's another thing here. It's a rare time when, all right, the Spanish are loud. They'll be the first ones that will say they're loud. They're loud, but their footprint is quiet. And what I mean
Mm,
by that is they're passionate, they're empathetic when they're having a conversation, but they will not bring a boombox to the beach and be like, "Hey, everybody, listen to my taste in music."
yep,
Uh,
that's the worst. It's the absolutely I mean, it's okay if you like the music, but it's very rare that you actually like the music that they're choosing to blare on the beach or a lake. Um, James, this is great. I feel like maybe we just do this like monthly now, check in and we can irritate a lot of Americans and maybe Europeans with our opinions.
we can, and we'll our unintended matching this time. Next time we'll have to, pick a different theme.
Well, I only wear black shirts. That's my choice, my minimalist. I don't like deciding on clothes. I Years ago I was like, I'm just gonna buy black t-shirts and that's all I'm gonna ever wear.
A
Best
solid
decision I
move.
ever made. The
Isn't
same with
there
my
a
glasses. I've had
I
these
think
same
there's a
frames for
very
years.
famous book that talks about that, and the author was like, "I only wear like chinos and a white polo," and he was like, "My stress level went down by like 90%."
I th- I think I stole the idea or I got the idea from I think Steve Jobs wore like the same thing every day because he's like the amount of mental exhaustion like going through and picking clothes every day was just he didn't want to think about that and he was so focused on all the things he did obviously with his with his creative processes that he just like I want to grab this and go, and I think I read his book or something, that's where I stole it and I was like that's genius because I hate clothes, I hate picking out clothes. I still have not figured out a place to buy clothes in France that's not like complete fast fashion garbage. And that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it simplifies your life if you don't care what you wear, to be honest.
That's true, and it's very humbling in Spain for me to go because Like I'm tall and so it's real fun to go into the store and have to ask for a 2X to get a shirt that fits me.
And then he'll hand it to you laughing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Like it's pretty awesome.
Sir, we don't have American sizes here.
Exactly.
I feel the same way sometimes, and I'm not even that overweight at this point, but yeah, the shirts fit a little too on the slim side, for my opinion. That slim fit, that H&M style, is still very popular in France.
I've made it this far in life without wearing slim fit jeans, so I'm going to try to continue that trend.
Well, good luck with that, and I'll talk to you next time, man.
All right, man. Take care. Always a
See
pleasure. Yeah.